Skywatch.Ai insurance is on demand and anytime you need it. Check out the link below. I'm Justin Davis and this is Drone Camps RC. What's up guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. I'm Justin Davis. Today we're going to do a new review, a new honest review of the KK series, KK220 from LDARC, also known as Kingkong. They've been making quads for quite some time now, and this is sort of an updated version of the older Kingkong 200 GT that I had. I call it an ultralight. You got ultra long flight times with that quad if you ran 4S 1300 or standard size race quad battery. But today I'm excited because this is the update to that one, and they've done some changes to this one that I think you're going to like. They've beefed up the frame a little bit. They've made it a 3-level stack inside there, and they've added a nice flat top on here to run any type of action camera, which is really great. Mostly the same power combination on here, same motor size, with the exception of a few other changes that we're going to talk about in comparison to the Kingkong 200 GT. I think you're going to like what you see here. So let's go outside real quick, and we'll do a little bit of FPV with it, and we'll also do some line of sight flying with it, and we'll listen to how clean this quad sounds in the air. And also, if you're watching, if you're brand new to my channel, you might not know about the giveaway, so I gotta just tell you about the giveaway this month. We're giving away what you see on the screen here. This is the Baby Hawk R Pro. It just came out last month, brand new from EMAX. We're giving that away November 2nd. So if you'd like to make a comment below, you can get entered into any of October's videos. Will get you entered into the drawing. Make a comment on any of my videos. We're going to use the quarreler, and we're going to pick a name at the end of this month. And we're also giving away the IH3 from iFlight RC. It's a long-range mini quad that records 1080p video, and it's under 250 grams. Super sweet quad. But today for this review, it's all about the Kingkong KK220. So let's go head out now and let's fly this guy, and then I'll come back in the shop. I'll make some suggestions about setting this up for you and how to make it fly better than the original stock setup. So here we go. Let's go fly. Alright guys, welcome back into the shop. Look how cool this quad looks sitting there. Does this thing look fast sitting still? It really does. It looks like it rips just sitting here. I did a few things on mine. I added the AX2 from Luminaire on there. That is a sort of a little bit better antenna than what it came with. It came with this dipole antenna, and I'm not a huge fan of these types of antennas, so if you do buy this quad, get rid of this antenna. You don't need it. You can use something a little bit better. There's a lot of better antennas out there, so spend the money on the quad, spend a little more money on a good antenna, and you're going to get better penetration through the trees. As I can show you here on the screen, when I went around the really thick trees, I still had penetration through those trees on this VTX, and the VTX performed quite well out there. I was up to 200 milliwatt. It is a switchable VTX on there, and you can see that in the stack right here. It's at the very top. There's a button just above the USB port right there, right about here. If you press and hold that in, you're going to be able to switch channels, bands, and your power. So long press for power setting, and you will be able to switch all the way up to 200. So also inside there they have this coil wrapped around here. It's snaked around to the back, goes front and back, and this is a UFL style connector. I'm just going to zoom into that real quick for you so you can see that there. And there it is. It's not the MMCX connector, which we normally like to see on these mini quads, but today they're going UFL, and that's not totally a bad thing. But what you want to do is, if you're brand new to this, take a little piece of tiny drop of hot glue and put it over that UFL connector, and that will hold it on there for you. That's just going to make sure that it doesn't pop off when you have your first hard crash, because that's a problem with those little tiny connectors. Now, speaking of the stack, we also have an F4 in here, and that was running Betaflight 3.4 on mine, believe it or not, when I got it. And just below that is BL Heli. Those are D-Shot 600 4-in-1 ESCs, and those are 20 amp ESCs. So not the biggest ESCs in the world on the stack, but it can handle a 4S 1300. If you want to go a little longer flight times, you can use the 1300. Other people have been demoing these with a 4S 850 milliamp. I'll try to put a link down below for those if you guys want those. Today, for most of my demo, I actually did the 4S 1050 here, and I have one of these here I'm going to show you. This is actually 1000 milliamp, but it's also 65C rated, so a pretty good battery that I got from Hobby King. It's a graphene battery. I have the best luck with the graphene batteries, it seems. But just underneath the flight controller, that is, by the way, that's the KK Tower 3, and it's a 20 by 20 stack, as most of these are. You can see that 20 by 20 stack below here, and you can see these front and back bolts right here. Those hold the top on, so if you need to get to your stack, it's quite quick to be able to just pop this whole thing off and get to this stack. But I like the way they have everything soldered up here. They have all the wires tucked in, and it looks like we have a little slack there. If you ever decided to extend this out a little bit, you might even be able to extend these arms out. But that's not likely something you're going to do. I have my receiver on the bottom right here, and I just have a little antenna sticking out there. This is a D8 receiver, so I wasn't going too far out in the field, but that worked just perfect for today's demo. And what I really like about this quad, guys, is the fact that it does have this new style frame. The older one had that fly egg, FPV egg style frame. It came over the top and curved around the back, and the 200 GT was nice, but it had sort of a curve on there, and it was kind of hard to put any type of action cam on there, so that was kind of a big drawback of that one. But look at this. This is completely flat. It has 4 bolts on the top. If you want to get this off, you can. There's plenty of clearance here to get a strap around, so there's nothing in the way right there for you to get some type of battery strap around and hold a GoPro Session or any other type of action cam on top of this quad. And also in the front right here, we have tiltable all the way up to 60 degrees right there, and there is actually 2 bolts there, one in the center and one up top for your degrees of pitch, and it could go all the way down to 0 if you want, which is kind of cool. And you have those bolts on both sides. This is the RunCam Mini Sparrow, and it's also a CCD camera, so a very nice camera that they chose for this. This is a 600 TVL camera installed inside this quad. And so far, everything I've looked at on this quad looks to be well built. Everything looks really solid. It looks really nicely placed. There doesn't seem to be a whole bunch of wires meshed up in here. Everything has zip ties around it. Even the bottom plate right here has an extra piece of carbon right here that they have this, which is your battery cable, and they have that zip tied off, which is not normally something I've seen manufacturers do for the past year. A lot of times I take an extra zip tie and I put it out here on the arm. In case this gets yanked off, your battery flies off, you're not yanking these two little connections right here, slam off your ESC. So very important that you want to always take a little bit of a zip tie and just secure things. You don't want it rubbing on the side of the arm by any means, but you want it to be up here and kind of flat on the arm, just like that. And that will keep your battery cables from popping off right here. So very important. And also in the back right here we have special LEDs right here, and I'm not sure if those are programmable in Betaflight, but they do light up when I turn the quad on. And we have this built-in buzzer on the back, very important, because I was able to actually go out and find my quad today. I did crash it a couple times. And we have another piece of carbon up here that this goes through, and I can just take this off real quick for you. Pretty tight. We've got this SMA connector right here, the female end right here, and I have my male end right there. And this one's also a male end that comes with the stock antenna. But I'm just going to put that to the side. But I like how they have that mounted up, because the way this works, this is really nice, because on an angle like this, if you're going to hard mount the SMA connector where your antenna is going to fit onto, you want it to be at an angle like this. So when you go into crash, it doesn't take quite as much force as if you had it vertically mounted up here. So very smart of Kingkong to mount this on an angle back here. And I've been seeing this more and more. This is great because a lot of times this doesn't take so much pressure in a crash, and it usually doesn't break off when it's done like this. But I really do like this new frame a lot, because we do have that extension in the front, and the older canopy just didn't have quite as much length this direction and vertically, because now we have a 3 stack in here, a 3-layer stack, and we were able to push the camera a little more forward. And we also have plenty of camera protection in here. This is completely protected under here in the front and on top. We even have a little bit of a ridge sticking out there on the top just to protect anything coming in. But your GoPro is also going to be sitting up here, and will also give a little bit more protection to your FPV camera there if you do go in. Now what's also different about this frame versus the 200 GT is the fact that these arms are replaceable. You can see right here there's a little bit of a slot right here, and you'll see just a little bit of a slot here, and one in the very back right there. If you look at an angle right there, you can see that crease right there. That's because each of these arms are individual arms, and I believe they will have parts available for this one very soon. And also want to give applause to Kingkong, because they made this a little bit thinner here, and they made them 5mm on the bottom instead of 4mm arms. So we have a little bit thicker arms and thinner on the inside. Now, making that change did cause them to have a little bit heavier quad, and most of you guys know if you watch my channel, most of the time the replaceable arm quads have more hardware on them, so they are a little bit heavier than your unibody style quads. But this is the original frame of my 200 GT, and there it is bare. You can see it is a unibody, no replaceable arms here. So the benefit of this is the fact that if you break an arm here, you got to pull everything off and replace everything here. If you break something, you're just going to pull off and put a brand new arm on there, and you don't have to take everything off this frame. Now, I mentioned before that the ESCs are 20 amp BL Heli D-Shot 600 ESCs, and we didn't motor up on this design. It's actually still an 1806 2500 kV with that LDRC branding on the other side, and it's pretty much the same motor as what they had on there before. It's exactly the exact same counterclockwise and clockwise threaded lock nuts, and they did include some different style props. And they also mentioned in the manual that comes along with this not to use a real high pitch prop, because you'll actually burn up this motor. This motor can't handle it on 4S if you're running too much pitch. So make sure you choose a prop that has a very low pitch. And probably my favorite prop to run on this quad is that Dal RC 5051 prop. Very, very nice prop right here. You can see it's really narrow in the center and has a nice thin taper out to the edge and kind of a very low pitch. So it's a very nice, efficient prop to run on something like an ultralight. And this is the stock prop that comes along with it. As you can see, it's a little bit wider cord, and it does have sort of a beefier end, and they're also a lot more flexible on the ends. So it's not going to be quite as an efficient prop that comes in the box. And a lot of times I tell you guys not to run stock props. Go ahead and order some dowel props or HQ or gem fans. It's just going to be a much nicer running prop. And the secret sauce in this is really going to be the prop. Now, the power combo and the stack is working great. It does have the same PIDs set up inside there as the Kingkong 200 GT that we had on the channel before. But I didn't have to do any tuning with this quad, mainly because I switched out the props. And when you do that, it can drastically change the vibrations on the quad itself. Because if you're running a very inefficient, kind of loud, noisy, inefficient prop, that's going to affect the flight controller, and that's going to make a lot of vibrations in your camera. You can see it when you come around. You're going to get a lot more prop wash, and things are just going to be very uneven for the flight controller and for your flight characteristics of the quad. And not really a big secret in the multi-GP or the FPV racing community, but props are everything on a particular quadcopter. If you build one from scratch, props really do make a huge difference. And all the props out there, a lot of them are different. So it really takes someone with experience to pick out the right prop for the right aircraft. Now, they do give you 2 sets of those props inside the box, as you can see here, which is kind of nice. If you're new to racing, or if you're new to flying FPV in general, you could probably just start out with these. You're not going to notice a whole lot of vibration. People that notice vibration and oscillations are usually people that have been flying for a while and are a lot more picky about FPV. So you also do get some zip ties, and these are long zip ties, which is absolutely great. There's that dipole you get along with it. You get one battery strap right here, and that just goes in each side and out through the other. And you also do get a couple extra receiver cables in here. This is kind of nice. They include that just in case you need to plug in a new style receiver. You can just pop that out of the receiver harness and plug in a new wire, which is kind of cool. And so sorry guys, but I did have my new micro cam out there today, and this is that Siroflo camera with built in a little kind of mount that came with it, and it's an ABS mount. But this one does shoot 1080p, and this is about a $25 camera. It's sort of an updated version of my favorite Hawkeye Firefly 1080p camera. It looks really, really cool. And this did actually fly off the top of the quad at one point. And since this one's orange, I saw it within a couple seconds, and I walked over and just picked it up. So you can actually take a little bit of foam, soft mount it on the top of here, and you can use a couple of zip ties, and they have little grooves here for your zip ties to go through. And you can just sort of zip tie that down and do 1080p videos. It'll look a little bit better than what you see on your RunCam DVR. And if you choose to get one of these, it comes in the style box right here. It's a sort of a plastic box, and this is exactly the same thing as the 200 GT we showed on the channel earlier. They do have 3 in this KK series, the KK220, which is right here. They have the KK5 GT, which I hope to get soon, and they also have a 7 GT. So very interested to see the 7 GT freestyle machine coming up soon. Just going to open this up and show you guys inside the box. All your accessories come underneath here, and it was sitting on this nice little foam mat, which is cool. And if you want to pull this out of here, you can get more stuff in there. I'm just going to see, the quad is not going to fit back in the box with the props on. That's kind of the only bummer about that. But if you wanted to transport this using this box, if you wanted to put this in a backpack and take it up on a mountainside, you could take the props off and put everything inside this box. All the accessories and the quad will fit back in there, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a dry weight, and that means without the battery on there. We've got 254.3 grams. About 54.3 grams heavier than the 200 GT, because the 200 GT was actually around 200 grams total dry weight without the battery. So let's go ahead and set. This is the battery that I was telling you guys about. This is that Turnigy Graphene 1000 milliamp 4S battery. I'm just going to set that right up here, and we'll see what that brings it up to. Just under 400 grams, which is cool. 398.4 grams. That'd be your total takeoff weight there. Now, before I get started with my overview of this quad, I'm just going to go ahead and say 5 out of 5 stars for this quad. Durability wise, very durable. Flies really locked in with the dowel props on here, the 50-51s, very smooth. You have plenty of punch out with it, and the overall power system felt good, so 5 stars for that. And the camera they chose on there, the Runcam Swift, is great. It's a Sony sensor in there. It's a CCD sensor and 1/3 sensor, and very, very nice camera. So I have no complaints there. And the fact that we have the top plate on here, we have that sort of angle mounted antenna bracket back there, which I also do suggest you go ahead and spend a little bit of money on a nice antenna from Lumineer or TBS, and you'll have a really nice penetration through a lot of trees and branches and things like that when you're flying freestyle. But let's go ahead and flip over now to the next part. We're going to talk about the quad in general and give you my final opinion. Okay, so now you guys know the specs, you know the weight, you know what battery to run on there, and I just think that the quad is almost perfect. When I came home this afternoon from flying it, I had the best feeling when I was coming back home, because some days when I go out, I take 3 or 4 or 5 things out to the field, and sometimes I only get one thing to work, and that might be the reviewer's curse or something, just the way things tend to go sometimes when you have so much things going on at once. And today, a lot of times I never go out with just one quad in my bag. I usually have like 4 or 5 quads when I go out, so I can do multiple things at once, just in case one thing falls through. And today was perfect. I took this out. The only thing that I took out, it was a gorgeous day, and I was able to just get off the ground, do the line of sight flight test, and right away with these props. The 50-51s are perfect on here. Very, very quiet, as you could hear in the GoPro footage. I left the sound going on there for you guys, and it sounds very smooth. The throttle bumps were perfect, and it still seems to have a lot of float coming around the backside of trees. And if I'm going to do a power loop, it just seems to just stay up in the air so easily and so effortlessly. And as far as a lightweight, a featherweight, sort of freestyles type quad, this is almost, I swear to God, it's almost perfect, and I love that. And I haven't really seen that from King Kong before. The 200 GT was a huge hit, and in a way, I think this one's better than the 200 GT. So with the frame design, it is about 50 grams heavier, but the flight characteristic of it, you're able to get away with so much here and be able to recover and pull out of it. And I did crash it a couple times, and it is pretty durable. It went down out in a pretty hard clay field, which is basically rock when you don't have a lot of rain. And I came home with no damages. I didn't even break props today. So it was just one of those days that went absolutely awesome. And it makes you happy to go out and fly on a day like today. You know, no wind as well. So it was the perfect day to fly. But I do like this quad. I think the KK220, I would spend my money on this one. And if you want to get a little 1080p camera, I'll try to put the link down below for this one. And sorry again, guys, that I didn't get the footage on this one yet. The problem was when I took it to the field, I had it all set up on top of there, pressed record and everything. A little light was blinking. I thought it was ready to go. When I got home, guess what? No video on the card because my card was full. Yeah. So that was my bad for not emptying out the SD card before I came out and flew. And of course, reviewer's curse, I didn't have any extras with me, of course, but that's the way it goes. But I really like this quad, and I think you can trust buying one of these. I don't think you're going to plug in a battery and it's just going to, white smoke's going to come out of it. I think it's a really great quad, and well worth your money and worth the wait for the shipping on this one. So get your order in, because I think these are going to sell probably even a little better than the King Kong 200 GT. And the King Kong 200 GT was sold out like within the first week. It was kind of crazy. So, and this one's probably even better because it's a little more durable, replaceable arms, and still has the same performance as the 200 GT. So very lightweight, featherweight feel for a freestyle quad. And I can't say enough good things about it. I could just keep rambling on and on about this quad, but I'm going to let you guys go for now. And I want to say thanks again for all the support on Patreon. It really means the world, and it's really helping me out, helping me become way more independent on the channel, and be able to keep bringing you guys these awesome, honest reviews and experiences in flying quads and FPV and planes and RC cars and all that good stuff. But this has put me in a really good mood today, so I'm super stoked. But thanks again, guys. Take care and be well and happy FPVing. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.